don't like waiting, let's go right now. Gotta hit the ground, dancing for the music slows down.
oceanUP.com.
What I'm saying, if there's something to fix, take it to another.
I did. Gunther is sort of one and the same with Kenton, except he's not the same as Kenton. We share some similar qualities that I brought from my own, personal ideas on life, where, we're very confident, we're okay with being ourselves around people. The difference between us, of course, is the way we talk. Gunther, he's very pronounced, and he's always ready to perform, and Ken's, more sprout. I'm a lot more relaxed than Gunther is. And then I think I'm a bit nicer on that side too. So I prepared for Gunther. I could not dance. We had to dance to, I think, Boom Boom Pow was the guy's stuff. I think I pretended to play guitar and did some funky chicken stuff in there because that was the best I could muster. But with the accent, they had said nondescript European. So I went in and I was sort of like, I hope this is gonna work, because I'd come up with this accent with one of my younger sisters. I had her I came up with it and then I had her do it with me to see if it would work with two people doing it. Because knowing that I was going in to play a twin, we need to sound good. It needs to be a good accent. And so Jessica, as I always tell her, she was my first Tinka. She'll always be the first Tinka in my heart, because I hadn't met my actual Tinka. So I created the accent. I walked in and I was actually wearing, I decided to just go all out in the audition. I wore my green cargo jacket, but it was, under it was one of my mom's pink, sort of wavy, shirts, and then I wore a white t-shirt under it, because it was sort of see-through-ish. It's one of those you wear a tank under. So I'm like, it's a little hot in here, do you mind if I take off my jacket? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I take it off, and they're just like, okay. And so yeah, that was my original audition, and went further and further and further, and then the final one, the final countdown, I was up against some kid who'd won a Tony, or had been nominated for a Tony Award for his dancing on Broadway. And so I was like, oh, awesome. I can't dance, this kid can dance. So I'm like, I focused really on making a good connection with who I was in with, because you need that chemistry. And so they go, hey, can you do any cool tricks or something? And yeah, I can do a handstand if I have wall support. And they're like, yeah, sure, just go for it. So about halfway into going down, my head slammed into the wall so hard that I blacked out for about 10 seconds. And I think, and so they were all freaking out, this has never happened. No one's ever blacked out, passed out in an audition before. What did we do? But I came up and I did the, That's So Raven. I'm okay. And I just finished the audition and I walked out and I'm just like, I hope that's okay. I hope they think I was joking. But I'm Gunther. Everybody said, 'cause you wear the clothes, they don't wear you. So it's like growing up with a family, I can honestly say Davis is like a little brother to me. We play Call of Duty every day at lunch, and then we'll go over our lines, but it's something that I know we're always going to do for the rest, of eternity, as long as we're around each other. And the worst part is he's actually getting really good now, really fast. And he keeps telling me I'm getting rusty, but I know he's just starting to figure things out. He's just starting to whoop me every game. But and the crew is like your aunts and your uncles. You just have them, all of them, and you have all these jokes with everybody, and everybody's just out to have a good time, but to also do good work and enjoy it. Well, they can expect some serious fashion from Gunther and Tinka. They can also expect some serious heartbreak from Gunther and Tinka, mainly due to fashion. As you know, Japanese fashion is very different from Gunther, Tinka, and then also American fashion. So when they go to Japan, there's this huge sort of turnaround, and they end up getting engrossed in that culture, and they love it. And so I think that's a little good sort of underlying message of everybody's different, but hey, we're all good people, and we all can be friends. Show you how to do. I think it was a good convenient transition because, you know, we're going from season 2 to season 3. We have this big finale in season 2. So there's, you know, like with the summer, like, you know, like in the season 1 finale to the season 2, a lot had changed between the two things, and or the two groups of, you know, Cece and Rocky and Gunther and Tinka, and everybody had sort of, you know, they'd gone through some experiences that we haven't seen, and you just sort of feel that while you're watching the show. And I think that's sort of going to happen again for the fans. They're going to see some different sides to all the characters yet again in season 3. As you know, because every summer you go through different experiences, and every year you go through different experiences. That changes a little bit of you, and you mature just slightly. So I think that was a good, convenient transition for me to sort of take some time off and do the movie that I just did. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamics change with that. Possibly in the future. We don't know anything for sure, but God willing, it might happen again. Well, as the plot line that I fit into, I play one of the leads. His name is Matt Prylick. He's the all-star, you know, swimming jock, athlete, but he's also a bully. And so the way he fits in the plot line is there are two main characters, two teens' lives that you know sort of watch throughout the movie, and you see how they sort of run parallel tracks, even though one is the one he has bullied in the past, and he is the bully, and they actually become good friends. And so the bully finds redemption, while this loner who loves to cook, except for my eye, but this loner who loves to cook finds a friend. So he sort of finds, in a sense, salvation in like having that bond with somebody. And it was awesome to portray that role, being a kid who was bullied, seeing what causes kids to go down that route and to bully others and to try and control what's around them. And Matt goes through a lot throughout the movie that I don't want to just, because it like switches who he is. Like he goes from antagonist to protagonist, back to antagonist because something devastating happens again, and then he goes back to being a protagonist because he sees that wasn't right. And so I think that's something that it's going to be good for bullies to see, as well as the kids that are being bullied, as well as the bystanders. Because, you know, bystanders have a major role in what happens in a bully situation. I've always been like a decent swimmer. However, my dad is an amazing swimmer. He was the one who taught me when I was really, really young. And so I went to him and I'm like, hey Dad, I need to bulk up, but I also need to be a really good swimmer. And he's like, yeah, I know. And he goes, are you just gonna go down to the pool? I'm like, actually, can you come down and just sort of watch my form and critique me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we'd go down to the pool every day, and like my form, you know, I always saw improvement because I'd do a lap and he'd be like, your feet need to be straight, you know, your legs need to be straight. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, do the flip, remember the flip. I'm like, right, you know. And so I just kept practicing, and he just sort of watched every little thing, because, you know, this kid that I need to portray needs to be someone who you would go and you'd scout as one of the top colleges for swimming. And then, you know, after I got my form down with the swimming, we started incorporating diving, and I got to the point where, you know, I would leave no bubbles the minute I entered the water. So I mean, he was really proud of the progress that I made, because it was 2 weeks that I had time to train, and in those 2 weeks I also put on 21 pounds. So I went from, you know, Gunther, sort of like very fit dancer, to buff Matt Prylick. Well, for victims and bystanders, it's go to an adult immediately. If you can't find an adult with the vicinity, try, if there are two of you that are bystanding, one of you try and go sort of like calm the situation down as much as you can, and don't get violently involved, because that only worsens the situation. You will also get in trouble. Just try and like talk to sort of calm everything down until the adult gets there to assess the situation, deflate it, and actually, you know, sort of get a handle on it. As the bully, you got to sort of take a step back, and because a lot of bullies don't even realize what they're doing to that kid. They're just taking out their anger on a lot of them, and they don't realize, oh, I could eventually make this kid commit suicide because they feel so terribly about themselves because of what I say to them And it's not even like, you don't even have to do something physical. It can just be verbal abuse. And I think that's something that a lot of people, no matter who you are, you need to look at like how you interact with others like every day, and sort of just make sure that if there's any sore spots that you recognize in conversations you've had, go back and sort of reprise that to a sense where you can repair it. I have. Gunther actually gets a good amount of cyberbullying, especially at the start, because people just were like, your clothes are weird, and then they would, you know, go from that, and they would just, like everything from across the board. And I actually, there were, you know, and like fans would defend Gunther, because they're like, he's just the same as you and me, he's different, why are you picking on him? And that's something that, you know, your friends, if you're the kid getting bullied, that's what they need to be doing. They need to be like, whoa, 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 what did he do to you? You know, he didn't do anything. Like, he's different, sure, but that's what makes him special, and that's what makes even you unique. You're different than he is, and that's what, you know, makes the world go round. And I found that just sort of like ignoring it and not like attacking them back, because that's all they just want a reaction. Just because I just went around as I paraded myself, hey, I'm me, you know, I'm Kenton, I play Gunther on TV, and I think Gunther's an awesome guy. Like, I didn't attack the cyberbullies, I just sort of let them vent, because they obviously needed it. And nowadays, I don't get attacked as much on the cyber web, because they don't get any reactions from it. Well, food allergies have played an important role throughout my entire life, because my dad had food allergies, so I've always been aware of them. And then when I turned 11, I also acquired some myself. I acquired a chocolate allergy, as many, as some of my fans know, and some of them will know. And recently I also acquired a wheat allergy, which helps with my diet, because now, you know, carbs aren't a problem. So I went to Capitol Hill because a lot of kids don't even know they have a food allergy, or they don't recognize the symptoms for an anaphylactic shock, or anaphylactic reaction, I should say. And some of them won't even have their first reaction isn't always just like, for me it was like full body hives for like a week, from just eating like a bite of chocolate. Like one day I was just like, whoa, what happened? And then, but for some kids, they can have their first anaphylactic reaction in school. And which means they don't know they have the allergy, or they don't even know they could have the allergy. And so, you know, they eat something, or someone, you know, shares food with them, and they end up going into that shock. Well, nurses aren't able, or no one is able to help that kid out, because there's no epinephrine, you know, law or act that allows them to use epinephrine on the child. No Good Samaritan law to, you know, help, like, let them, you know, do that, and like no consequences. Because the way epinephrine works is there's like, you know, you take the cap off, you stick it in, you hear the click, you count to 10, then you take it out and rub the spot. You're trained now. All of you are trained. My sisters can do it too. They've been able to do it to me since day one of my allergy. And anybody can use it. Like, I know kids that are 4 that know how to epinephrine auto-inject their siblings, and it saved their siblings' life quite often. And and the thing is that we wanted to make sure with the nurses that were involved is that what they wanted to know is that the nurses have like helped to train the people, so that way people aren't just going and, you know, sticking it in the wrong spot. But then again, there are no side effects other than maybe like an adrenaline rush, because that's what it mainly is.
You just gotta keep it real. Yo!
When I was young, I watched Lion King, just because the music is so good, and I love the music. I'd probably at least 4 times a week, just to sing along. I've like a few, and like Runaway Baby is always going on. Lucky Strike by Maroon 5. Scream by Usher's pretty good right now. I like the Take You by Justin Bieber. Well, I think my first performance, I was about 2 years old, and it was with my dad at church, you know, in front of the like entire church. And so, you know, like I had my mic, he had his mic, and we did a duet with, you know, the chorus and everything. And so so that was like that was the first stage moment. It was like, you know, it's like when you're young, you're like, I like this, you know, this is fun. Like I'm singing, everybody's dancing around, you know, it was a good time. And so that sort of like I think started the like I like singing, I like music. And I always grew up with music, like it was always in the house, always on like in the intercom system, you know, or someone had it like on the, you know, little, when we had boom boxes, if anyone remembers those. You know, it was always on like the little like CD player boom box, like it was always on. And so it's always been a big part of me. And so, you know, past 2.5 years I've been writing music as well as producing and you know, recording and all that stuff. And I play guitar for maybe 5.5, 6 years now. I still play a little bit of piano. My sisters, I think, are better than me at this point, but don't tell them that. And you know, my mom gave me her trumpet, so I think I want to try out that. I figured out like randomly a riff. That's the only thing I can play on it. So I'm gonna have one of my sisters who plays French horn teach me maybe a little bit of trumpet. And I mean, I enjoy all the aspects of music because everything has its own voice, if you will, its own like thing that you hear it and you're like, oh wow, that's great. And there's always something new.
Taken to another level.
I say my voice is a little bit of Adam Levine, it's a little bit of Justin Timberlake, it's a little bit of Justin Bieber, it's a little bit of maybe Tayo Cruz, like, or Chris Brown or something. Like there, it's like sort of like that sort of mix and the quality that it comes on. My style sort of resembles the type of music that it is. It just sort of morphs itself to whatever. Like my mood at the moment will morph itself into like how the emotion comes out portrayed. I think I'd cover like the 2 songs that I'm actually working on right now with I think I'm gonna do a YouTube video with a few friends of mine. Shape of My Heart is one of them from the Backstreet Boys, and then Lucky Strike I think I might do. Honest, it was just running around the house singing all the time, to the point where like I could talk for like 30 minutes at the end of the night, just because I loved to sing and I loved to just, you know, portray how I was feeling that way. And one of the things my dad and I would always do, like if we couldn't figure out the words to a song in enough time while it was on the radio, we would start making up our own lyrics. And so I think we ended up with one song once because because we'd seen a red Corvette on the highway and we didn't know the words to the song we were singing, so we started singing about the red Corvette, like for the chorus. Like it was like talking about the Corvette and how it's speeding down the highway, it's in the zone or something. But I mean, like you know, it was like 4, but that was like one of our bonding things that we always did. Since day one of my career, I've always said dream big whenever I sign something, and I always, you know, my hashtag has always been dream big. When I got a Twitter not too long ago, and so therefore, you know, somehow one of these awesome fans came up with the idea, let's call ourselves dreamers. And like and they were like, when they said that, I'm like, oh, that is cool. And then like another fan like, well, no, let's call ourselves something like Dutyites or something cool. Like they had all these cool ideas. So I had like another fan's like, well, I'll create a poll. So like I DM'd them. They like made this like website poll thing, and I just like tweet it like every day, and then everybody just went in and like voted on what they wanted to call themselves. And Dreamers was the one that like shot out. Like everybody loved it, specifically because we all say dream big. And so now we're we're Duty's Dreamers. So I think it's really cool because, you know, like I like to say, your dreams are your hopes, and if you don't have hopes, you don't have anything. So you might as well dream big.
Taken to another level.